Hi, I'm Tilak, assistant professor, and here today what you're going to talk about is based on Ethereum. Ethereum is a decentralized blockchain with a smart contract functionality. The Ether is considered as the currency for this Ethereum and in this platform. So, among the cryptocurrencies, Ether is the second only Bitcoin that is in the market capitalization. So, it is an open source software. We can run it on everywhere by the means of blockchain applications. Okay. So, what do you mean by Ethereum? So, it is based on the cryptocurrency and by the means of smart contracts and the decentralized application. Okay. So Ethereum is like a decentralized computing network, so that allows the developers to create and run applications on its blockchain using the smart contracts. So you can run it on several applications on a blockchain using smart contract. Okay, so it will gain the public notice. So with an advent of 2009, so the Bitcoin cryptocurrency that runs on a blockchain technology is by the means of a popular and most ranked cryptocurrency. So this is by reference to by means of a document that is being noticed from the book. So as you can see, the Ethereum was initially released in 2015. So within 2 years of its release, it was ranked the second best blockchain network. So Bitcoin is considered as the first. So Ethereum network acquired a more global investor when the China stated as the best blockchain network ever was created. Okay. So, as I told you earlier, so what do you mean by Ethereum? So, Ethereum is a blockchain network that built in a Turing complete programming language, so that can be used for creating various decentralized applications that is considered as a DApps. So, this network that is fueled by its own cryptocurrency called Ether. Okay. So, the Ethereum network is currently famous for allowing implementation of smart contracts. So the smart contract can be thought by either cryptographic bank lockers, which contains the certain values. So these lockers can only unlock when the certain conditions are met. So unlike the Bitcoin, the Ethereum is a network that can be applied to various sectors. Okay. Sorry, coming back and so unlike the Bitcoins, the Ethereum networks that can be applied to the various other sectors. For here, as it is being often called as blockchain 2.0, since it is proven that the potential of the blockchain technology beyond its financial sector. So the here the consensus mechanism used to Ethereum is a proof of stake, so which is more energy efficient that is compared to the Bitcoin network. So that is the proof of work, and the proof of stake is depends on the amount of stake a node holds. Okay, as you can see, the Ethereum, it is considered from 2013. It was discovered by the Vitalik Buterin white paper in the 2013, and it is developed for the decentralized applications. So in the 2014, Ethereum virtual machine was introduced by the paper that Gavin Wood. So the formal development of a software is started there. And next, as you can see, the 2015, the Ethereum was created for Genesis block for marketing the official launch of the platform. So in the next year, they took a second place in the Bitcoin in terms of market capitalization. And within 3 years, a major network upgrade was created by the London, included the Ethereum improvement as in the proposal of 1959, and introduced a mechanism of reducing the transaction or fee volatility. So in the 2022, the Ethereum has shifted from the proof of work to proof of stake consensus mechanism, so which is also known as the Ethereum merge. So it has reduced the Ethereum energy consumption by 99.95%. Okay, so here as you can see the features of an Ethereum, as I mentioned earlier, it is based on the smart contracts. So it will allows the creation of deployment of a smart contract, and if it is being created, mainly the programmer language that is called Solidity is being used here. So Solidity is an object-oriented programming language that comparatively easy to learn. So it consists of an Ethereum virtual machine. So it is designed to operate the runtime environment, compiling and deploying the Ethereum-based smart contracts. So Ether is nothing but, as I told you earlier, the currency that is in the Ethereum network. So it will is only accept if in form of payment transaction fee that is happening on the Ethereum network. So next, as you can see, the decentralized application. So what it does the code on the back end running on the decentralized peer-to-peer network. So it can have the front end and the user interface and the language that can make calls, query data, and it being saved in the backend. So they can operate Ethereum and the platform at the same function in respective to the environment and in which they can be get executed. Okay. So next feature is based on data decentralized autonomous organization. So what it will do, it is an organization that works on a democratic and decentralized fashion. So it relies on the smart contract for decision making or decentralized voting system within the organization. Okay, so here are some type of accounts that Ethereum have. So that is one type of account is the externally owned account that is based on the contract account. So here are the following states that are here. One is externally owned account. So that accounts are controlled by the private keys, which the EOA has the private key pair. So the users can send messages and creating the signing and transactions. Okay, this will created by the user using the private keys, and they will sign the transaction for the transfer of for the transaction. So next, as you can see, the contract account that is basically controlled by the contract nodes. So these codes are stored within the account. So each contract accounts either the balance with that is associated with that, and the contract code has these accounts get activated every time the transaction from a EOA from a message to another contract is received by it. So when the contract is code is activated, it allows to read the messages and write the messages to the local storage, and they can also send the messages and create the contracts. So next we have to know how the Ethereum is being worked. So it implements an execution environment that called an EVM. So what it will do, it will triggers the transaction from the smart contract to all the nodes of a network and execute the each instruction. Okay. So what it will do, the all nodes will run on the EVM that is being stores at the block that is being verified, and it will check the nodes. Each transaction is being registered on the block, and it runs the code whether it is being triggered by the transaction in the Ethereum destination. So next, as you can see, the all nodes in the network, it has to be perform some calculations by keeping the ledgers in it is being synchronized everywhere. Okay, so every time the transaction must includes that consists of a gas limit and the transaction fee, so that the sender will pay for the transaction. So if a total amount of gas needed to process the transaction is be less than or equal to the gas limit, so then the transaction will be processed if the amount of the gas is needed or more than the gas limit. So the transaction will not process the fees and still lost. So here the example scenario is being mentioned for that international transaction. We can consider here the gas limit and the oils that is being used for the Ethereum transactions. Okay. Next, as you can see, this is considered to be safe and to send the transaction with the gas limit and above the estimated increase the real to getting chances it is being processed. So as you can see, the real world agreements applications of Ethereum. So where and all it is being used for voting systems, for the agreements, the banking systems, shipping, crowdfunding, the domain names. So as you can So how the Ethereum transaction will happen, we can see that now. So the transaction in Ethereum is that is I already told you it is being cryptographically signed the data messages that contains a set of instructions. So what it will do, those instructions that can interpret the sending ether from one Ethereum account to another are interacting with the smart contract that is being deployed in the blockchain. So the transactions are very simple but powerful concept that has allowed the users to the worldwide to interact decentralized network. So this guide will allow the cover the idea of transaction that is being how the context of Ethereum. So these concepts will cover how the transaction fundamentals and the architecture, and you're going to view the transaction data programming. Okay, so here are the types of transaction that is being mentioned here. So first transaction is based on the message call, and second one is based on the contract creation. So in the message call, as you can see, that derives from the externally owned account that will wants to interact with the EOA and the contract account, or either a contract account. So for an instance, we can say a message call would be sending the Ethereum from one account to other. So it will interact from the smart contract based on swapping the tokens or Uniswap. It can be swapped once, or you are going to swap from the ties in the exchange. Okay, so the next one is contract creation transaction. So how it is being done? A contract creation derives from the externally owned account. Same thing is happening out here, but it will create a contract account. Generally, it will stores the data code and the storage. So example for this instance, we can say the type of transaction that would be deployed on the storage smart contract to store that data. Okay. So here are the transaction state, that is you guys already know. If it is being penned, you guys will receive the pending message and queued, cancel, replace, and failure. Okay. So how it is being happen? So as you can see here, how the transaction is being done. Okay, this will have a certain segments. As you can see, for the transaction, it will consist of a public key, the block header, the digital signature, the transaction list, and the blocks. And it will have the private key. Okay, for each transaction, it will have the private key and the public key to verify the transaction, and this being stored in the block header, and that is being verified by the block signature, and it is being listed as a transaction list. Okay, this will have a n number of blocks. Okay, as you can see here, and okay, so far and so for what how the transaction is being flowed for the Ethereum is, it will creates the user transaction, and it is being signed from the user private key, and it sent to the mempool. So what it will do, it will validate the miner and picks the transaction, and it will execute the smart contract data if anything is want to update it, and it is based on the state how you are going to define that is being processed or not. So it will be added in the block, and you will get the receipt generator. Okay, so here next concept is based on the as already we have seen about that. So we can consider this highly secure because it will have some cryptographic signatures, the validation process, and smart contracts and being here, and the consensus mechanism how proof of stake is there. So it is being considerably secure than about previous Bitcoin transaction. Okay, so far we can stop out here, and see you in the next session. Thank you all, and have a great day.